welcome back aboard Blurred Force One with your boys Mo and Lottie. And this is the Supercast. The Supercast where we talk about all things superhero in our pop culture media. That's movies, TV shows, video games. We talk about the news, do some speculation, all that good nerdy stuff. And before we start the podcast, do us a favor, get down there, hit like on this video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're on a podcasting platform, give us a 5-star review or whatever star you think we deserve. Any kind of interaction, we appreciate that. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. So anyway, welcome back. And man, it's been a slow news week, even though we did just have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come out. So that's sort of a superhero thing. But otherwise, Lottie, my friend, how you doing? And what you been up to? What nerdy stuff have you been getting to?
Man, besides watching Bleach, I haven't been really doing much nerdy stuff, man. Just been basically spending all my time really even really doing animations and just working life, you know.
Yeah, man, it's I feel the same way. Instead of animations, I've been uh, doing reviews for shows that apparently no one else is watching. I guess it's it feels like it, but I'm enjoying all these shows. But there's a lot of TV going on now, despite the writers' strike. And of course, I went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over the weekend, and I highly recommend everyone go check that out. It's sort of a superhero thing as far as I'm concerned, so we could talk about it, but somebody didn't watch it, so I'm I'm the only person that's seen it. So if you guys want to know what I thought about it, go check out the review that's going to be posted on the channel within probably, I don't know, the next day. But it's if you want to go see something dope, definitely hit up the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, and also we're searching for that 200 subscribers. So just somebody, show some love. Go ahead and hook that up. But anyway, this is the Supercast. Of course, we're going to be talking about all this superhero news. Again, it's kind of a slow news week, but we got like a few items that we want to, knock around and see what's good out of them. So we're going to be talking about this week. Robert Kirkman, creator of Invincible, showrunner and writer on the Invincible TV show, talks about race swapping and why it was done. And yes, the creator was doing the race swapping. So if you guys want to talk about anti-wokeness, you know who to aim at. James Gunn apparently has told David Ayer that we will eventually see the Ayer cut. Is this good or bad? And what does this mean for the future of the DC universe? The Marvel VFX team members vote to unionize in the midst of 2 strikes going on. And we'll talk about unionization and all that good stuff. And speaking of animators, the director of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles talks about how Seth Rogen, gave guidance on work-life balance for the animation crew. And I think we'll be pleasantly surprised to hear what he had to say. And finally, rumor or speculation about Apple potentially merging with Disney. And is this something we want to see? What could this mean for entertainment? So Lottie, it's a good bit of stuff here today, man. You ready to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk.
All right, let's get to it. So Lottie, nerd corners really get up in arms about race swapping, to say the least. I mean, I feel like that's an understatement as hell. And we've talked at length about, race swapping, why it doesn't have to mean what people think it means, and the historical way that people of color and women were excluded from these sorts of roles and everything, and all that stuff. I mean, we could go on, but the point is that generally speaking, when race swapping happens, you get a certain segment of fandom that gets all mad that because apparently the race of the character is super essential that it stays the same way it was before. And this has happened like in the movies and in the comics and so forth. But Robert Kirkman, so we know he's created Invincible, like 20 years ago, or co-created Invincible 20 years ago, and he has also, of course, helped write and showrun the animated show. And there's a difference. There's some racial differences between characters. Like, for instance, I mean, obviously Amber is black in the show, but she's white in the comics. And then, Mark Grayson himself is half Viltrumite, half Korean, right? And his mom is Korean. Uh, those are some obvious changes. And so Robert Kirkman was sort of asked about it when he was talking about the upcoming Invincible season 2, and he said it was a deliberate choice on the part of the creators to do these race swaps. Essentially because when he was originally writing the comic and they were drawing it and everything, 20 years ago, he said it's like it's a bunch of white dudes that were just like, more or less, he was saying we just weren't thinking about diversity at all. We were just a bunch of young white dudes that were making a comic. And so essentially, as far as I can understand, the Invincible TV show seems to be a way to sort of go back and maybe make it more diverse. So Lottie, that's a long preamble. The point is, he gave his reason for it, and it essentially comes down to, look, we're trying to be better than we were before, and so that's why these things are happening. I just kind of want to hear what you had to say about his reasoning, and also like essentially how this sort of reflects other attempts to increase diversity of characters in comic book movies and comic book TV shows, or just like superhero stuff in general.
So, as somebody who's, I do animations and I'm technically creating a story of characters myself. I mean, writers can just go through a phase of, like, if Midnight was a comic book and I released it in 2021, and the Midnight that I'm making now is a vastly different story when it comes to characters, the way the main character is and everything. Some people will say, some people might go and say, when, if Midnight came out in 2021 and see, a revamped Midnight of 2023, they'll be like, oh, it went woke. No, it's not that it went woke. It's that the writer, the person who created the show, he or she has developed and wants the story to be told in a different way, and they have an opportunity of doing that because, you know, we all know, even, and because this from, you've watched anime. Manga does this too. Manga to anime is vastly different in some cases than it is to the anime. Manga is vastly different to the anime. There's a lot of shows that I've watched where they've gender bend. Some animes I've watched where they gender bend a character or gender bend a character's brother or sister or something like that, or their race. Is just the way it goes because they're like, well, when I look back on it, having this person just with just another person, like you said, just having Mark date a white woman and his other love interest is a white woman. In 2023, let's just be honest. In 2023, that's kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Right.
It will add spice to the story, and him as a writer sees the opportunity of doing that, and there's no problem with it. And here's another thing that I just tell comic book nerds this all the time when they tell me about gender swapping and all that stuff. I said a lot of lesser characters have been gender swapped or race swapped. X-23 has changed race like 5 times. She originally was black, then she became uh, Asian, and in the movie she's Latina.
Right.
X-23 has changed race so many freaking times. I mean, Hawk Girl has changed race so many times. I can go down the list of Starfire. It just happens. It's just the way comic books have been doing this since the 70s. They have changed the race or the gender of a character quite a bit. I mean, the main character is not really too much, but like side characters, yeah, this happens all the time. There's nothing to be upset about. I mean, what does Mark Mom being white, what does that add to the story of her staying white? You
Right.
know what I mean?
Well,
What
I mean,
is this?
yeah, and I think it's because it's about over representation. Like the thing is uh a lot. I feel like I'm not one of the people that complains about this. I'm just trying to put myself into their shoes, and in their shoes, they're used to seeing themselves represent overrepresented at the center of the story at all times, and so to take one of those roles away, it's just like, hey, where's my overrepresentation? And they don't see the flip side of the coin, which is everyone else who's not well represented has to somehow find a way to identify with this character that doesn't look like them. And I often say, that representation matters, and these people that complain about diversity, and race swapping or whatever, they know that diversity matters, because if they didn't, they wouldn't complain so much about some of their representation going away, right? Like these people who are just mad about that stuff, they know representation matters, and they'll be like, I can't identify with this character that doesn't look like me, and I'm like, well, get on the fucking train, man. Other people like us have had to identify with characters that don't look like us all the damn time. What's wrong with you? What is so weak about you and your psyche and your mentality that you can't empathize with someone just because their skin color or their sex is different from you, or their sexual orientation? If that's your problem, you have an empathy problem. You have an inability to sympathize with somebody who isn't you. You know, and
Yeah,
so that isn't a comics problem. To be honest, Kirkman was basically just like, look, everyone who reads this comic should be able to see themselves in it. Like they shouldn't have to imagine themselves in it. They should be able to literally see themselves in it. It's not hard, and to be quite honest, let's be perfectly honest. Y'all can be offended by this or not, but almost every fucking white character in the comics, their whiteness is just the default. It's kind of like the default pattern. It's that when you start a video game, it's just the default avatar, but there's no flavor to it at all. Not all the time. Sometimes you get white characters. You're like, here's a white character whose whiteness actually fucking matters, and that's Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit. His being a white Cajun man, that shit matters. It's specific. It pertains to his character, and I would be pissed if they made him black. I would. Am I wrong? I'd be mad. He's supposed to be a white Cajun dude. It matters. But like fucking Clark Kent, who gives a fuck? What he could be. He is literally the default avatar. There's no flavor at all to his whiteness. There's nothing specific about it. He could be fucking from anywhere. You know how we know that? Because there's been Elseworlds where he's been from Russia, and he's basically the same person.
or what's the name? Another character that's like is Batman. Like Batman being another race will almost change, will pretty much change to who the character of Bruce Wayne will be. It would be like if Batman was black, it would be almost like Black Panther. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would be like because he comes from old money. African
Yeah.
Americans very rarely have old money in America.
It wouldn't
You
make
know?
sense if he were an American, but if he were Chinese, or
Yes.
if he were Japanese, like in Japan, or if he were Saudi and he was from like the royal family, okay, and he was operating out of Riyadh, cool, I get that. But like Bruce Wayne's whiteness actually means something. But like, think of your average fucking white superhero. If they made them black, it doesn't matter. Now there's actually some actual specificity to them. Otherwise, again, they're just the default avatar, and so there ain't nothing wrong with that. Like again, if you have a problem with diversity, it's almost certainly because you are overrepresented, and a little bit of loss of that representation that you fucking know matters because you cry about it. That little bit of loss of representation, even though you're still overrepresented with that one or two characters gone, is it matters to you. So think about how much more it matters to someone like me who sees, fewer, we're seeing more of them, but fewer people of color who are actually heroes, superheroes, or whatever. So, yeah, like I said, everyone knows diversity matters. And it's good to know that the creators are, taking that to heart, that they're going to not make subtext. They're just going to be straight out about it. No, we're going to change it because this character, it doesn't fucking matter that they were white at first. Now they're not. How's it changed anything? It's just giving people who are underrepresented an opportunity to see themselves in a way that usually they weren't. So, Kirkman, one of the good ones. At least when it comes to this issue, I understand he remember he was getting sued. So I
Hmm.
don't know what happened with that, but at least on this issue, one of the good ones. So anyway, we're looking forward to Invincible season 2 coming out in November. So we'll talk about it then. So James Gunn, we know he's running the DC universe. He's prepping Superman and everything like that, and he's on good terms with David Ayer, who made Suicide Squad, the first one, but famously didn't get his cut of the movie to be the theatrical cut. In fact, they got some other directors or something to kind of edit his shit into what we ended up getting, which, and by the way, I like that movie, but I understand a lot of people didn't care so much for it. It made a decent amount of money and all that stuff, introduced us to Harley Quinn and the DCEU's Amanda Waller, set up the second Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. So it's some good stuff came out of it. But the point is, people are, ever since we got the Snyder cut, people have been like, oh, well, release the Ayer cut, release the Ayer cut. And so David Ayer, he got on Twitter and kind of like, had something to say about it, which essentially boiled down to, hey, this thing is kind of taking on a life of its own. There definitely is my cut of the movie exists, and people seem to want to see this thing, and I can't really kind of get away from it. But I've talked to James, and he said at some point, eventually, the Ayer cut will be released. So, Lottie, I hate when they chum the waters for these fucking Snyder stands. I'm not kidding. Like this, here's the thing. I do want to see this. That's the thing is, I want to see the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. But man, I hate when this shit happens because the Snyder stands, they suddenly feel, it's like they're reviving the zombie and they're ready to get back in there, and they're prepared to be mad at James Gunn again because of action, inaction, whatever on this. But I kind of wanted to see what you thought about this, and how likely, how soon are we to see this if we do get to see it.
If what this man is saying is true, James Gunn, what are you doing? And I'm not saying just from this. I'm also just saying in general, like, you know, I've thought more and more about Gal Gadot being back as Wonder Woman or continuing as Wonder Woman. And I'm just saying to myself that don't get me wrong, I'm happy that she's back. But it's like, what is going on? Like, if you're going to do a reboot, scrap everything. You know what I mean?
Except Peacemaker.
But it's looking more and more like the only thing he wanted to scrap was
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill Superman, and it's just, I mean, it's looking like that at this point, and I'm just saying to myself, like, what are you doing? If you're going to keep everything, you might as well have finished. You literally might as well let what's his name finish the Snyderverse. Literally, you might as well. If you're doing an Ayer's cut, if Ayer cut come out, I am with everybody. Restore the Snyderverse. If you are going to release this Ayer's cut, you should restore the Snyderverse and let it finish at this point, and just call it another multiverse.
I mean, yeah,
Because
they could do that, I suppose.
why? If you're going to do a Ayer's cut, if you are reviving another Snyderverse movie, you might as well let it finish. At this point, like I'm looking at this one tweet. The movie came out in 2016. If they revive that movie in 2024 or 2025, that's going to be 9 years later. What is going on?
Well, I mean, I don't think it has to be that serious. Like, they could just put that bitch on HBO Max and be done with, you know?
It's
They
not
don't.
going to happen though. But Maurice, you can't do that. If you release this movie, you might as well, because Snyder stands are not like you're thinking like MCU fans.
I'm thinking like a regular person that's just like that likes the movies but isn't like doesn't have their entire identity wrapped up in whether or not this shit continues.
But there is millions of these people, man. It's not a small fan base. These Snyder stands are powerful, man.
They are no. I'm sorry, they are a small fan base. I don't care how many Snyder Restore the Snyderverse people exist. They're tiny.
Yeah, I agree. They're tiny.
They're tiny. They're a tiny but vocal minority. What they want is ridiculous. If they should be fucking counting their blessings, they should be thanking whatever executive green lights the fucking Ayer cut, because they're not getting any actual new movies. Like, they're not going to. This whole Restore the Snyderverse thing, it is the most. It's a ship that's not just sinking, it is under the fucking water, and they are treading water, and they think they're still on a damn ship. They're not. They're like, it's not this stuff. This Titanic is not coming back up. The best you can get is a lifeboat from it, and like you better be happy with that fucking lifeboat. So, like they're not gonna get what they want. Doing this for them is just a little, throwing them a scrap. But I don't. Beyond that, no, there's no need to even worry about the Snyderverse beyond that. Like it's. I want to see this, but like, and I hate what it does to the Snyder stands. But like, no, not at all. Lottie, I feel like that Titanic analogy feels right.
It feels right, but man,
the Snyder stands are literally they are the people playing music on the fucking sinking ship. That's who they are.
But it feels like Warner Brothers. It's not only are they throwing them they throwing them life jackets. Now they're giving them a lifeboat. Like, just just let it go. Just let it go. But we'll see.
They're throwing them a life jacket and a lifeboat, but they don't know there's a whirlpool right next to it. So it seems like they're being saved, but actually, yeah. Well, you know what? If he says that James Gunn said that, I believe it. I feel like we're probably not going to see, because as I understand it, it's not going to be till well after they've started the new DC universe. So you could be talking about a 10-year anniversary thing. They could easily, like, the 10-year anniversary is 3 years from now. So they could easily do that, in 26. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, I'm sure Restore the Snyderverse will keep this shit running around. So, but we'll let you guys know when we get any information. Moving over to Marvel, we're in the midst of the strikes. The SAG, AFTRA, and WGA strikes are well underway. Even though I understand that the WGA said that they are, maybe talks might be opening soon or something like that. Who knows? But we're we're into August. It's gonna be affecting TV and movies for a while. But in the midst of all of that, we also got the 50 some people at Marvel, the visual effects members at Marvel. They've all voted to unionize, specifically that they're gonna it's really not to vote to unionize. It's a vote. They've all agreed to vote on whether or not to unionize, and they want to be represented by IATSE. Now, just to explain to people that don't know this is inside baseball stuff, but IATSE is one of the trade unions that covers people who work, they do lighting and, I think camera operators and basically a lot of the people who do the technical stuff on, costume designers and so forth. They are all unionized under IATSE, but the visual effects people have not, which is a notoriously bad situation for people in VFX right now. Also, the fact that they outsource VFX a lot doesn't help either, but lack of unionization is what has essentially caused a lot of the, work hour abuse and, lack of personal time, lack of work-life balance, so forth. All of the egregious overreach that's been going on in order to get these movies to us. But at Marvel, their in-house VFX people have voted to unionize. To which I say, fuck yeah. Like I wish all these people could unionize, but baby steps. Lottie, me. I'm all for the unions, but how do you feel about this? Is this first of all, is this a good thing for Marvel? And second of all, could this be the start of maybe a trend among the VFX, people in Hollywood?
Oh, this is terrible for Marvel. It's just saying, this is not good news for Marvel at all. But this is good for downright human beings being treated right. It's about damn time that they are unionized. You know what I mean? I said Marvel. Pretty much.
What's Moneybags Mickey got to say about it though?
Moneybag Mickey's like, what the fuck? To pay these damn writers and actors, I gotta pay the people who make shit look good. Damn it! Because if they're unionized,
it's like Mickey, you got to come up off some cash.
you can't. You know what that unionized thing means? You can't. You know what? I'm pretty sure you actually have talked about this. You already know how the VFX thing go. It's like a race to the bottom. Whoever can make a scene look the best, spending the less money. That's how VFX has it. Unionized, that shit is over. That day is over. You are not. Is no more race to the bottom anymore.
Well, unfortunately, this only applies. So it only applies to the people at Marvel. So these are in-house VFX people. But we know that on any given Marvel movie, they've got like 10, 15, teams doing different parts of the movie. So those won't be affected by this, but just the people that work at Marvel, which I mean, good for them. I'm happy for them, and hope that this goes through, because then this will mean benefits and all that other stuff. I mean, obviously, they're free to just fire them, and that is something that places that don't want to unionize will do. They will just fire the people that are causing problems. But here's the deal. That's also something you really can't do federally. That's against the law. So, hopefully this move works and they're able to, once they're part of IATSE, that's the thing, is there's only 50 of them, right? 50 people in a union doesn't move much. IATSE's got thousands of members. You think of how many people are in SAG. There's that, they got thousands and thousands of members. Well, every one actor, if you ever think every one actor that's on a set, there's probably 3 or 4 not actors working on that set too. So there's so many people in IATSE that, add these people in there. Now they've got huge collective bargaining. So I mean, all for it. In fact, I'd say other places around Hollywood that for VFX, they need to take this opportunity, to get unionized. Now it'll probably be harder at other places too. I'll admit that the smaller studios are going to have, it'll be harder to do, but I'm all for it. Like let's get it, because I don't know, a lot of these entertainment companies, they're making a ton of money, and the executives seem to me to making a ton of money. So maybe it's time for, the people that actually make shit to make some money too. So, But I don't know. We'll see. I think there's probably going to be another vote, so we'll let you guys know what happens there. But go Marvel VFX people. Get your union on. Let's speaking of VFX slash animators. Lottie, we saw Across the Spider Verse. It was amazing, right? Looked amazing. Was it just a great movie? But unfortunately, we also found out, and this kind of soured me. Kind of soured me a bit on Spider Verse was that they really fucking did crunch for like over a year and a half on that, on the people working on that movie, and that they just had, working, 70 plus hour weeks and all that other stuff. I mean, it bugs the shit out of me that something I loved was really at the expense of other people's lives and their health and their, and their livelihoods. And so, obviously we don't want that to be repeated for Spider-Verse. But we got some good news when it comes to animation. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which, as I said before, it's a great movie. You should go see it. But if you need another good reason to go see it, it's because they didn't fucking exploit and abuse their animators. Lottie, I couldn't believe this. The director of it, his name is Jeff Rowe. He said that Seth Rogen kind of, led as far as, and I think Evan Goldberg is Seth Rogen's business partner, producing partner, that he said that they had a good work-life balance at their production, their production company, and that kind of guided him on how to work with the animators on the movie. And so they weren't overworked, and they weren't like, pulling 70-hour weeks and not seeing their family. And basically they got treated like normal workers that have lives and have families and weren't on the hook for, all this overtime. And in fact, they were really flexible with people working remote and a few days a week and so forth in order to get the most out of it. Lottie, who are these people and how dare they do business ethically?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. There's very few companies that you hear about that crunch is not that big of a thing. Like I've heard like Sony Santa Monica, the people who make God of War. I've heard like they pretty much don't do crunch. Well, they make God of War. The world will wait for God of War. But it's cool to see that Seth Rogen, pretty much said, nah, these people got to see their family. I remember I was listening to a podcast, and this guy was talking about, he said a joke that him and his brother will always say. He will like play a video game and he'll like see something like in the game not look as good as something else, and his brother will be like, come on, man, the guy who probably designed this part, he needs to see his kids sometime. It is just
I
like
mean, it's a joke, but like it's also some bullshit because it's real. Like,
yeah, because man, people are worked, man. They work, because I can tell you from animating. Like some people think like from just like legit experience. I animate. Some people think like my 30 seconds to 1 minute and 30-second animations, they think it only takes me like 1 hour or 2 hours to make. I'm like, it takes me about 2 hours to do 6 seconds. They're like, what? I say, yes, yes. Animating is difficult. And oh God, if you render it and it looks bad, you got to start all over.
yeah, I just want to remind everyone, this is why you need a fucking union so that people can't do shit. Because let's keep it real here too. This is something they voluntarily did because they're, being basically good human beings, trying to realize that other people are not cogs in a machine, but in fact they are people that have lives and things that they would, like to do besides sitting at the fucking office animating. They do that apart. They don't have. They can do that without exploiting people, but it's voluntary, mind you. This is voluntary. They've decided that they are going to be that sort of place. But unions ensure, because we can't count on people to be good people. You know, we can't count. We've seen. I'll just say this: we've seen more than enough examples of, the people who run companies behaving badly towards their employees. We've seen plenty of that, and we've seen some who voluntarily been good to their employees. But those people who are, voluntarily good to their employees won't have a problem with a union. But the ones who need to exploit their employees in order to make their money, they will have a problem with the union. And that's exactly why you fucking need one. Because you don't have to worry about the good ones. You got to worry about the bad ones. And, I hate to say it, but Sony was the bad ones when it came to Spider-Verse. Or, even if they were like, well, it wasn't us, it was our other animation teams. Well, motherfucker, you pay them animation teams. Be
Yep.
like, and let me tell you, the animation in Ninja Turtles was great. Just great. I loved it. So some absolutely good looking animation, and they didn't have to fucking, exploit their workers to get it. So, yeah, go see the movie. Show it some love. It deserves more love than it's getting. If for no other reason, because they're doing right by their animators. So, anyway, and also go unions. So our final bit of news for the day is about a potential merger, and I feel like we talked about this before, maybe a year ago, about Apple and Disney merging. Really, let's just call it what it is: Apple acquiring Disney, because ain't gonna be no merging of Disney into ain't gonna be no merging, and Disney somehow has some kind of influence or say. Apple's worth what? How many trillions is it? A few $1 trillion? What? I don't, not trillion, but
I think it's two.
2 trillion. They're worth $2 trillion, or something like that. Disney's worth 76 billion, maybe, and plus they got debt. So clearly, and I'm probably not, I may be wrong about that, but whatever. They're worth billions. Apple's worth trillions. This would be a buyout. They will be buying Disney, and obviously there's some some issues with consolidation about them having control of Apple and also then having control of ABC and ESPN and all that. They probably would get rid of those or whatever. But the point is they would have the House of Mouse. Lottie, again, we talked about this before. What do you think? Is this likely? Would this be good for us, the consumers? I know Apple would be like yes, and Disney investors would be like yes. But us consumers, how should we be looking at this?
No, 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 and hell no. I'm tired of consolidation. I hate bigger companies buying medium-sized companies. It is such annoyance. I'm absolutely pissed off that Microsoft bought Activision. I just hate that this is what we are coming to. And there are idiots out there that are fucking happy that this is happening, not realizing all that's going to do is increase prices and make shit harder on people who are the consumer. Because when there are less competition, guess what happens? Prices go up. People don't realize that. You don't, I do not want, I want Disney to get their fucking act together in both sports and movies and not get bought out. Because I do not want Apple to own Disney. No, no. Because you already know Apple's going to do some crazy stuff. Because they can. They own them. No, no, no. Do not want this at all. Like you said, the rich people that are sitting in the what are those in the conference rooms, all that stuff. Oh, they're loving this. Anybody who is any fan of either Apple or Disney, you do not want this to happen. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Apple could buy Disney and destroy Disney because it's happened. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Have you heard about what was the last time you heard about Beats by Dre?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They destroyed it.
I hear about AirPods
Companies
all the
can
time though.
exactly. They bought Beats by Dre so they cannot have competition. They destroyed it. Companies do that. Microsoft could literally buy, like I was telling people, Microsoft could literally buy Activision and destroy every single gaming company in that thing except Call of Duty. Because that's what they do. That is what they do. I could name so many companies that they bought a medium-sized company. Yay, the company's gonna get better. Oh, what happened? They're not buying it to make the thing better. They're buying it to get rid of competition.
Yeah. Or in this case, Apple would be buying it. They would essentially be buying an entertainment company.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, Amazon just bought they just bought MGM. So
Mm-hmm.
they bought, Amazon, they had their own studios and they made original stuff, but when you buy MGM, you get all of their portfolio and all of their projects and all of that, the clout, and then you become a bigger player. That's the whole point of acquisition and mergers anyway. The question is, as a consumer, what does that mean for the things you want to see? What kind of leadership and what kind of oversight would Apple, you know, exert over Disney? Because Disney would be either a subsidiary or it'd be an internal, there would be an internal delineation between Apple, the services part, and Apple, the entertainment part. And then within the Apple Entertainment, would they maintain the Apple TV Plus by itself? Would they do Disney Plus? There's a ton of questions in there that don't even that haven't even gotten to the point of talking about the content itself. You know, and I agree with you. Consolidation is bad. If Marvel had been able to buy, Spider-Man off of Sony, we would be poorer for it. If the more consolidation there is, the fewer opportunities for superhero movies or superhero TV shows we're gonna get. Apple, they're notorious for spending a ton of money on their shows, but their shows are actually good. And I suppose you'd be like, well, that maybe they'll make the Marvel Disney Plus shows better. Maybe they will, but probably they won't get rid of Feige. So you're in the same boat. They'll just have more money. That's not I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but throwing more money at Marvel, is that really going to solve its problems? Throwing more money at Star Wars, is that going to solve its problems? Um, maybe they'll have stricter oversight. So then shit that maybe we could have gotten, like Star Wars Visions, or the I Am Groot series, the little shorts. Maybe they're just like, why are we even spending money on that? Who cares about that? There's a lot of questions in here, but as far as a big company getting even bigger, I don't know that that's historically been good for consumers. Maybe it will in the short term, but in the long term, we have a big company with control of even more IP, and maybe they're not as interested in doing things the Disney way. And also, will Disney World get better or worse? There's so many questions here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Usually a bigger company buys a smaller or medium company, I can tell you, you diversity of the product will get cut. That has just been throughout history. Very, very, very few companies. Bigger companies will bought out small company, still allowed the smaller company to basically run itself like how it was. Majority, 90% of the time, if Apple buys Disney, a lot of these MCU movies and TV shows you get are getting cut. I can promise you. Look what happened with literally, we can good example. Look what just happened with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
It's if Apple buys the Marvel, I can promise you a lot of that stuff that you see on the MCU, half of it is going to get cut immediately. Immediately.
Well, I will at least give Apple this. They've got a ton of money. They got way more money than Discovery has. Like when Discovery bought Warner Brothers, like it was a major purchase for them. Apple buying Disney, that's barely even anything they care about.
Yeah,
Like
it's the same thing. It's
it's
like when Microsoft bought Bethesda. Same thing though. When Bethesda, a lot of the stuff Bethesda was working on, cut. Only thing
yeah.
you're gonna be working on is Starfield and that game. That's it.
And I will again say the difference here is Apple is absolutely trying to expand their presence in film and TV. And so you buy Disney, you've got the catalog, you've got their studios, you've got their ongoing projects, you've got the MCU, you've got Star Wars, you've got Lucasfilm, you got Pixar, you got Disney Animation. It immediately makes them a major player they're already a major player in Hollywood. It makes them a huge player in Hollywood. It puts them, in my opinion, buying Disney puts them above, would put them above Mac, the Warner Brothers Discovery, in terms of potential to absolutely just like dominate. Not saying that they would, because obviously they have HBO over at Discovery, but this puts them in a really healthy position because they got a ton of money and the willingness to spend it to make things happen. Because Apple TV Plus, I'm telling you, you watch their stuff, they're not skimping on it. They're not cheaping out on their shit. They make good stuff. I don't know how they plan to make money with it, but they make good stuff over there. That's the only bright side to this. Otherwise, yeah, media consolidation sucks. We should stop doing it. Just it's not things have not gotten better whenever they consolidate. So, but this is speculation. We'll see what's really going on. Probably in the next year or so, I would say, and we'll let you guys know if anything is happening on that front. And Lottie, that is all of our news for today. Surprise! It's a slow news week, but that's still some interesting stuff. But maybe we missed something. Maybe we got something wrong, or you just had something to say in response to what we were talking about. Whatever it may be, get down there to the comment section and leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow the channel, helps more people to see this podcast and the videos, and we really appreciate it. And of course, I can't do the Supercast by myself. My good friend Lottie always adds his insight. So Lottie, where can they reach you on social media?
Hey, you can always find me on my Instagram, which is Anukinihun. Again, it's Anukinihun, ANUKINIHUN, and of course my YouTube channel, which is named exactly the same, but Anukinihun Animations. So yeah, I've been pumping out animations a lot lately. Decided to do a new strategy instead of doing 1 minute and 30-second animations, which freaking like burn me out after I make them. I'm going more of the 30-second to 40-second animations now, which I can now pump out in about a day and a half. So making me allowing me to pump out more animations for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah, you guys go over there, show love to Lottie. Check him out. Check him out on Instagram. And you know what? It just reminded me. Maybe I should tell people about the Instagram for the show too. I'm figuring Instagram out because I'm just old like that, and I'm trying to make my transition away from Twitter to Instagram. So go hit us up over there. Follow us on Instagram. It's Super Not Funny Show. Like, it just Super Not Funny Show, no spaces at all on Instagram. And come and show us some love. All right. Thanks for joining us. It's episode 113 of the Supercast this week. Come back next week. We got plenty more to talk about because, the superhero stuff, it never quits. And, I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, we'll hear something about Fantastic Four and who's getting cast. And so you guys come back and check that out. Until then, I've been Mo, your commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by the anime expert, video game designer, and lover of all things superhero, my good friend Lottie. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.